Hi everybody, this is Rich Formidoni from Korg USA. We're here in the Korg USA studio, and today we have a very special guest with us. We're talking about the Krome Music Workstation, our brand new product, and with us is Stephen Fortner, the editor of Keyboard Magazine. And who better to test out Krome for the first time and share his reaction. How are you?
I'm happy to be here.
Great, it's great to have you.
And an affordable little brother to the Kronos.
Right.
Seems, I can vouch from talking to my readers that there's a market segment that wants that, where a between $1,000 and $2,000 price point is kind of a magic price point. So let's say we have the Kronos customer who is the musician who wants this multi-mode, badass, flexible, high-end workstation,
right?
And has the money to spend on it. Who is the Krome customer?
All right, the Krome customer might be somebody who admires a Kronos, but either wants to spend less or doesn't need some of the functionality that Kronos provides. The Krome customer is somebody who demands extremely good sound quality and workstation level production power that they might use on stage. It could be a live musician who appreciates how lightweight the Krome is.
How lightweight is it?
This one is just over 32 pounds. Try picking up the...
Just picking up the end?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For an 88 key workstation?
For 88, that ain't bad.
Yeah.
You're not going to get much lighter and still retain any.
Actually, you don't get any lighter than an 88
Yeah.
than this for an 88 key workstation. It's currently the lightest. So
Cool.
definitely a gigging player is going to appreciate all that Krome has to offer. It's immediate. It's fast. So anytime you need to get to a sound quickly, you're not spending a ton of time searching for it. Of course, you can set it up ahead of time so that all your sounds are in order, but on this touch view display, you've got a category search that lets you get to things immediately. Well, we've got you set up with the Krome Grand Piano, which is a huge 2.8 gigabyte library that's built into Krome. If you'd like to try it out, there's a damper pedal at your feet, and
okay.
Feel free.
It's sort of a rock piano. It's kind of a bright piano. Not tack piano bright, but it's got plenty of nice, sparkly harmonics. That's nice. And then this is derived from the Kronos Grand Piano.
Absolutely.
Now, the Kronos Grand Piano is sample-based, but it sort of has its own section of the sound engine devoted to it, with a grand piano graphic and so forth. This has a little graphic as well.
It does.
And 8 velocity layers.
Absolutely.
And
and they're very long samples, unlooped, just like in Kronos. Well, let me give you our Mark I. This is another large sample collection.
And then you have those beautiful graphical EPs on the Kronos. Oh, that's a nice Mark I. Those times are they're not too, I want to say FM-y, but even on some synths that aren't FM, obviously it's sample-based, the tines are a little too strident or too much.
Mm-hmm.
Or you just have the sort of dark Mark II sound where you got all tone bar and no tine.
Right.
It's a darker sound. And it barks nicely too. That's really like. There's your tremolo.
Yep.
I'm playing just a few major 7th and minor 7th chords is about what I can do in my jet-lagged state. Oh man, that's nice. That's a nice electric piano.
Now we gave you a little clue, as we so often do. KN3 means try knob 3.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. Oh, it's dialing a little phaser. Just the right amount of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have that. it's not too, again, it's not some phaser electric piano effects in workstations almost border on a little too flangey. You almost have a little bit too much feedback, a little too much too much gargle.
Yeah.
And then this is just subtle enough. And if you go back and listen to those old Doobies and Steely Dan records, there's not, it's not drenched in this stuff. And we kind of remember it as being that way, but it ain't. And you know, it's just right there.
Great.
I reviewed the Kronos, the original Kronos, just over a year ago, and I was really blown away with the electric pianos and that. But I can't, you know, we don't have a Kronos here next to this, but I certainly can't say these are less.
Great.
I do want to clarify, though, where the Kronos has an analog modeling sound engine and a plucked string modeling sound engine, and then several subsets of analog modeling. You got your AN1 or AL1? AL1. And then your Poly 6 mode and so forth. This is a multi-sample,
Correct.
ROM-based instrument.
Yes.
Now, just a little side question. On the Kronos, the main grand piano mode, under the hood it's HD1. Right?
Well, it is sample playback technology, but there's some other things happening under the hood, some proprietary magic that allows us to do things like interact with the lid, the way the samples interact with each other and the damper resonance. It's not quite the same technology.
This is, the name of this is EDS-X.
EDS expanded, yes.
And what's the basic architecture of a voice?
Well, if you dig into a program, what you'll see is, and I'll go to the oscillator page here, each one of these 8 sounds are stereo waveforms. So you can have 8 mono waveforms or 8 stereo waveforms, and here you can see the different velocity layers, and you can crossfade between them. Now that's one oscillator. In oscillator 2, you can see that you have room for 8 more stereo waveforms. So you can technically play 6 stereo waveforms or 32 mono channels per voice.
Nice guitar.
Now, this is a great opportunity to show you 2 more things that we've got. The arpeggiator. With hundreds upon hundreds of patterns that you can visually edit on the screen, and the drum track. Now, as we play the drum track,
And of course, there's some menu where you can decide what drum track that is, but the
absolutely.
defaults are designed to go with the type of sound that's called up.
Right. You can go in and record your own from sequence mode, and the drums are actually another huge sound library that's built in. So acoustic piano, electric piano, and drums got special treatment with these giant sound collections. So what you've got are really some of the jazz ambient drums from Kronos built into here. So drum track will actually take advantage of those.
Your kind of A-list big sample footprint sounds are mainly your pianos and E-pianos, right?
Yes, acoustic pianos, electric pianos, and that jazz ambient drum kit.
How are, you know, I mean, and this is another question every keyboard player asks, but like, how are the B3s, right?
Check them out.
So I'm thinking you've got a rotary in here that is probably derived from the CX3 rotary modeling in the effects section?
Yes, the effects section is modeled after what we've done in the CX3, and you have independent control of the horn and the rotor and all that good stuff, and you can switch the speed like that.
There it goes.
Yep.
And I'm guessing you have slight variances in drawbar registration.
Yes, those will either give you those registrations or percussion. And while we don't have the actual physical drawbar control, as you notice, we do have different registrations that you can select here. You can make adjustments via the knobs, and there's so many different presets. That
so you can sort of do some crossfading stuff with the knobs.
Exactly.
To kind of, it's like a fake drawbar motion.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Let's look at some orchestral sounds.
Sure. Might I recommend combi mode for that?
Yes. hi-fi sounding
Yes.
sitting here next to it. There's a split right there.
Yep.
We know the sounds are really cool, and it's got a ton of them. What I saw in some of the product videos that I first watched that you had made was that there's some sequencer modes on this, and some ways the sequencer works and ways that it communicates information graphically that I actually didn't remember seeing when I reviewed the Kronos.
That's right. Yeah, there's some sequencer technology in here that is not in the Kronos. So if you remember when we released the M3 update to the sequencer, we had a piano roll screen.
Yes.
We've preserved that in here, and because the touch view display in Krome is so much larger and higher resolution, the sequencer becomes very, very impressive. So what I'll do is I'll go into sequence mode, and I'll just do a quick recording.
I'll
Just a
back
simple
off and let
piano
you do
thing.
your thing here.
So just a couple of piano notes there. Now, we'll go to Page Edit, Track Edit, and here's the view that you've seen before,
Yeah,
visual
that looks
representation,
familiar. Yeah.
right? Then we go to Track View. Now this is where you can see and manipulate large blocks of MIDI data at once. If we zoom in on that by touching this magnifying glass, then we get the piano roll. So
Okay.
here, we start to zoom in and embiggen using these arrow controls. And now I'm going to grab the hand tool.
You can drag it.
You can click and drag, yep.
Nice.
Grab the pencil, insert some new notes, grab the stretch tool, touch a note, and make it longer or shorter. Or you can take the pencil and draw a line in the controller lane.
Very cool. And this is how to install a resistive touchscreen. So if
Yes.
you know, and there's a lot of information, and it is fairly finger friendly. But if you had a stylus lying around from your old Palm Pilot
Yeah,
or Trio, for example, you could
absolutely.
draw more precise, or a pen with the cap on,
Right.
or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not a pen with the cap off.
Right,
okay.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend that,
Yeah,
but
yeah. You can draw more precise controller information, and it's a lot like working with a DAW.
definitely. As a matter of fact, we've actually implemented some new gestures in Krome that are not in any other workstation that we made. And the screen is extremely responsive, so it makes use of these gestures in interesting ways. So for example, I'm going to jump us back to combi mode here, and the mixer, you've already seen this where you can touch and drag the faders. Feel how responsive that is on Krome.
There we go. Have to touch it first. Well, not bad.
Left and right.
Okay. This almost feels capacitive in its responsiveness.
It has that kind of feel, sure. Now, if we jump back to program mode, you can see there are some parameters on the screen which you may not have seen before. We're showing you what effects you've got there because we have all this extra real estate. When we touch a parameter here, I can move my finger up or down to move it, or if I hold it down for a second and let it go, I get a value slider.
Oh, you get a horizontal slider.
Absolutely. Or I get an inertia wheel.
Just fling it by a few values to kind of get it where you want it.
Sure.
So now one thing a lot of the more vocal people on internet forums say is that because of the power of a laptop and a virtual instrument hosting program such as MainStage or other things on the PC side, and the modeling power and the sampling power of the plugins you can load right next to each other, the workstation's dead. And these people tend to be very vocal. And I'll have to admit, I love the power-hungry feeling of being able to put Ivory next to Omnisphere, next to Vienna Instruments, next to something by Yuhi. I mean, it's
That's
great
awesome. Yeah.
to be able to do that. But so in this age where the processing power on the sort of consumer computer side is going through the roof, outside of major tours, what I see on bandstands a lot, in bars and so forth, there's still a whole lot of workstations. So there's a lot of vocal people saying the workstation's dead, but a lot of people still using it. And why do you suppose that is?
There are a couple of really good reasons. The crashing issue is one we can get out of the way early. When you combine things from different manufacturers into one one shell that you're trying to have everything play nice. Sometimes it doesn't, and you get crashes. We've all seen, the biggest artists in the world suffer from an onstage laptop crash. That's a huge reason why professionals choose workstations. One of the others is definitely the maturity of the programming, the quality of the sounds. When you get a company like Korg, not to toot our own horn, but yeah, I will toot our own horn. We have one
it's your job.
Yeah, we have what I consider to be the best voicing team in our entire industry. I mean, when we design a sound, we don't just put samples across keys. We program each controller to do something useful. We program combis. You heard the orchestra combis, where every sound in the orchestra is at your fingertips, layered, split, velocity switched across the keys. That's the kind of stuff that makes a workstation feel not like a system or an environment, but an instrument. You're playing an orchestra. You're not constructing an orchestra. So that's a huge difference. A big part of everything that I'm saying is immediacy. So to get this level of sound quality and have it be that fast and inspirational, that's why people use workstations. I'll show you what I mean. Give me a style of music.
Oh, a
Yeah.
genre?
Yeah.
Old school funk a la Tower of Power.
All right. What I'm going to do is load template song, and I'm going to do R&B. Now, copy pattern to track 2. Now I get to choose a beat. So I've got all these different rhythms to go through. Funk.
Or old school funk a la Parliament, maybe.
Ooh,
I saw something that said funk P up there.
absolutely. We got
Yeah.
that. All right.
Yeah, make my funk the P funk.
We will make your funk the P-funk, sir. All right. Record and play my 2-bar count in. All right. Next track. Next track is going to be electric piano. All right, next track. Oops, keep hitting that wrong button. Next track is acoustic piano, wah guitar.
That sounds good.
All right.
Do that.
So you get the idea. Now,
Yeah.
how long ago did you say funk?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what this
is
is
most
really good
recent
at.
time, just a few seconds.
Yeah.
I say it a lot.
Playing in a funk band, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's, for me personally, that's one of the things that I really get out of a workstation is the immediacy of doing that. When there's an idea here, I just lay it down. Now from here, I can go and tweak. This was just a template with some instruments preset. If I wanted a different electric piano, I choose it after the fact. And the drum track may not be exactly what I want, but I've gone from here to here in no time at all. And then with the piano roll editor, I can...
It was very, very, very quick. It's like I've never touched one before right now. Again, it was surprisingly immediate how things fell under my fingers on the screen, sort of where I expected them to be.
That's great.
And,
That's good to hear.
Let's talk about effects. How many can you have at once, and where do they live in the machine?
Well, you always have access to 5 insert effects, 2 stereo master effects, and 1 total effect. Now, that's across all modes. So if you're in program mode, you have access to all those at once. In sequence mode, you have access to that same number of effects. Now, that's a little different from the way other companies do it. It's the way Korg has done it for years and years, and it works very well because of the routing scheme that we use. So when you're in a sequence, you can take 3 tracks and route it to the same effect if you want. So if you've got, say, chorus or reverb or something that's typically in a master effect slot.
Yeah, definitely a send-based.
Send-based.
Yeah.
They're send-based, so that's totally separate. You've got send controls for each one of those timbres. But the inserts, you can actually route multiple sounds to a single effect, which is different, and it makes it extremely flexible.
It's just like having that same insert with its settings, but as though it were instantiated on all those channels.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. It's got
Cool.
It's like the same rack mount effect processor has a whole bunch of different input jacks on it.
Right. Right, exactly. Any other sounds on this we haven't seen, or combis, or just like any sound, or maybe not a full-on demo, but a combi or a program you think is really, really cool?
Sure, there's a lot of them. All right. That's a fun one. So the arpeggiators, when you're in combi mode, you have two of them, and they can access, one can be running one program, one can be running another one, doing different things. And you can tell in this particular combi, they're extremely busy. There's a lot going on. So there's a lot of these kind of ready-made jammable combis that will give you a bass line in the left hand, some great drums that might be using that jazz ambient drum kit,
right,
and you'll be able to just jam along with them while the bass line matches the chord that you've played or the lowest key in the chord. And we have those for every kind of instrument here. You heard all the drum fills going on in there?
Yeah.
That's an example of a drum pattern, a drum track pattern that was played in by somebody actually playing that pattern on electronic drums, and now you have access to it whenever you want to jam along with it.
I noticed there was some almost arranger-like chord recognition going on there. I mean, was I hearing what I thought I was?
Well, you're not hearing actual chord recognition. Most of the time what you're hearing is based on the lowest note that you're playing
the root,
the chord.
or the lowest note.
Or the last note that you played. Yeah.
Cool. And people have different feelings about pre-programmed, kind of needle drop combis and auto accompaniment. But in favor of it, I'll say that if I just want to jam, like to de-stress, or I just want to get an idea, and maybe I'm going to totally change the idea up, it is great to be able to just hit a button and have something to play over if you're by yourself.
Absolutely.
Can you output the combi data as sort of multi-track MIDI data?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. So you can have up to 16 programs playing at once in a combi, and each of them can be spitting out MIDI data on a separate channel. So if you're doing something like using a computer, recording into it via the included editor librarian software, you can have this running as a plug-in within whatever host you choose, and it'll actually record the MIDI data on each track individually. Of course, it does work without the editor via USB MIDI, but this gives you a quick and convenient way to access the sounds. Let me show you the nice, pretty picture there.
Yeah, nice.
And do your editing right from the screen.
I was sort of saying because you might not want to use the pre-programmed groove in the keyboard, but one might be close to something you want or be inspiring, and you might want to capture that as MIDI data and then go in at the granular level and not granular synthesis, but granular MIDI.
Gotcha.
Go in at the more micro level and move some notes around and change the groove. And so this plugin, this plugin could be instantiated on a track, and we're looking at it standalone here.
Yes.
This could be on a track and a DAW.
Right.
And how many of the parameters are subject or eligible for DAW automation?
Most of the parameters that you can see that are assigned to MIDI CCs in here can be automated via the editor. So theoretically, you could also do this automation without the editor, but what we give you here is a convenient way to record and interact with them without looking up CC numbers or things like that, just being able to tweak something as part of the recording.
Right, so if you have a filter tweak or a modulation depth change or something like that going on, you can just reach for it directly there.
Right.
And, save it with your project and it's there the next time.
Exactly, that's the benefit.
Yeah, that level of integration is cool to see on, I don't know if we'd call this an entry-level workstation, but more of a mid-market workstation. So that's a quick overview of some of what makes the new Korg Krome special. Prices on the 61, 73, and 88, do you have those at the top of your head?
Street prices are $9.99, $11.99, and $15.99 for the 88.
Well, okay, because in the recent New Gear column in which I wrote these, I wrote up the list prices, which are of course always higher because it's always better to be pleasantly surprised.
Right.
But the street prices you just gave are that's pretty insane, and when you consider also how light this is, you know, someone who has their clone wheel or synthy synth keyboard as the top keyboard, this thing could be a heck of a bottom keyboard on a 2-tier rig, and not a lot of strain on your wallet or on your backbone. So.